gather round. Let me tell you a tale of heroes unsung who will never fail. On this road of life, they stand so proud. Every day Saturday, let's shout it loud.
And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining me on another great episode of Every Day's a Saturday. USMC Veteran, I'm your host, Bryan Roof. And we're back, guys. We are back. I know if you guys haven't seen the announcement prior to this video, decided to take Coffee Talk and make it its own show and bring back Every Day's a Saturday, USMC Veteran. Gosh, here I go, tripping over my words already. You guys are getting what I left off on. But, you know, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the ones of you that have stayed loyal. This show right here is kind of a show to everybody, like my listeners. This is just a one-on-one show. You're going to hear me talk about some announcements. If you want to be on the show, we're going to talk about that. Ideas for the show that you guys might have, and how do we get you guys to kind of interact a little bit more with the show as well. We're going to talk about some stories. Why did I join the Marines? What being a Marine is to me, and share some Marine stories with you guys as well, and all that's fun stuff. So you guys are going to get a little bit of some storytelling. So there might be, you know, some fun stories. Maybe I've already told some of these stories in some previous episodes that you guys haven't even had the chance to go back and listen to. And by the way, you know, Every Day's a Saturday, there's been 137 interviews, and I can't tell you how many different episodes there are, because we did different segments throughout each season. As some of you know, what we did, like a true crime season. I can't remember what I did right off the first time, and then we turned into Coffee Talk season 3, and then season 4 we just kind of continued with Coffee Talk. And like I've said before, I found the need to kind of split the two shows separately. And by the way, I'll go ahead and give Coffee Talk a plug. There it is, Coffee Talk with Bryan and Marie. You guys can check that out on all the different audio platforms and YouTube. We're, you know, basically now that we've split off, it's like Coffee Talk is almost starting off on its own. So we could really use you guys to go over there and check that out. As well, if you guys are listening and whatever platform you're on, if there's a like button, please push the like button. If there's a way to rate the show, please rate the show as well. We're really trying to get this show back out in the world, and you know, in the algorithm thing, you gotta play all the rules and do all the things, and it's not that old way of just kind of dropping your videos and people watching it. Now you gotta like make sure you pay attention to all the algorithm, because otherwise you just get lost, because there's so many people out there doing stuff, right? There's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of content creators now, and which is outstanding. I really love it. But you know, sometimes you just get lost in the mix of the things. So anyhow, we're going to talk about right now when you guys can expect new interviews to drop. If you guys aren't following me on social medias, you haven't got bombarded with all the check it out, here's what's going on. So September 2nd, 2026, it's going to be a Wednesday. That's when the first interviews are going to be dropping. I'm already going to be conducting my second interview tomorrow. And can you believe it? It is 2 Navy veterans right away, and 2 outstanding individuals. You guys are really going to want to check this out. I would also want to know, you know, what type of things have you guys seen in the show that you like? What kind of things do you not like? What kind of things would you like to see, as part of the show? Maybe give me an email. Every day is a Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com. I would love to hear from you in general, right? If you're a long time listener and you've been listening to this for a long time, I would love to hear from you. If you've benefited from the show in any kind of manner, would love to hear from you. It's always nice to kind of get that interaction and know that there's people actually listening to the podcast. Every once in a while, we'll get tidbits like, I've listened, and then they talk about it. So it's not every day we get to kind of hear whether people are really listening to the show. I see on the stats and stuff like that, but I can't put a face behind the numbers. And I would love to, and I'm not trying to blast your area. Just would love to hear from you guys and just what you think of the show and what can we do better? What do you not like? What do you like? What would you like to see type thing? So don't forget, every day is a Saturday, just like it sounds. Every day's a Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com. And I do that because there's some of you guys on here that just listen to the show. All right. So now we're going to get to some of the story time. Story time. I want to talk to you guys a little bit as why I decided to become a Marine. Some of you may know because you've watched some podcasts that I've been on. Maybe you've listened to this from the beginning and you've heard some of the stories from the beginning. But now I'll kind of get a little bit more of the why. So we'll go all the way back into my high school days. As a high schooler, I really was into sports. My two primary sports were football and wrestling. And I really loved football. Wrestling, I never wrestled until I got into high school, my freshman year. And I did take a liking to wrestling. Pretty cool. It wasn't, back in the day, of course, the era we grew up in, being a wrestler was something that you could definitely get clowned on by your boys, right? You're in there with those Speedos and grabbing guys. Yeah, if you haven't done the sport, obviously you talk some kind of shit about it, but you obviously never played the sport because boy, oh boy, did I get an eye opener when I started wrestling. How tough it was, demanding on your body and endurance. You're using muscles of your body you've never used in your entire life. And you get to learn about your body. There's just so much to wrestling. I loved wrestling, by the way. So you have any kids out there and you've never thought about putting them in wrestling, wrestling's a great sport for many, many reasons. Teaches you kind of how to fall, how to have self-defense. A lot of fights end up on the ground. 9 out of 10, someone's going to end up on the ground and it ends up to the ground. So you want to know how to fight on the ground for sure. Or you can definitely be a great brawler and, land that hook. But you could also be that dude that sucks when you get laid on the ground and fucking next thing you know, you're getting choked out of your arm bar or your arm's getting broke, something, so you don't know how to defend yourself. But anyhow, yeah, so back to why I decided to join the Marines. I get so on these tangents and shit. So as a high schooler, really was into sports, never really thought I was going to join the military. My ambitions at that age was, for one, I did want to be a firefighter. That was always something that I thought I wanted to be. And then I also thought, I want to be an NFL player. I loved football so much, and I really wanted to keep playing. Now, the problem is I played on the line, and I'm only 5'11". Linemen are like 6 foot plus, and so definitely wasn't making the cut in terms of my height and stuff like that. I did get some letters from some smaller colleges, D2, the local junior college. I think Hawaii was the biggest school that I got a letter from. Other than that, everything else was kind of like D2 schools. And I just wasn't. My mind was not into school at all. right? I've always was into sports, and that's what kept my grades afloat. Is I knew I had to have a 2.5 or higher to play. So that was always the goal, is to get a 2.5 or higher and make sure that you always were in class, not ditching as much as you should, as you could be or whatever. um, yeah. So I had no ambitions going into military. When it was my junior year and they had come into the school, like the military, and they were going to do the ASVAB. And I had no idea what the hell the ASVAB was, other than it was just this long test. It was like, it was like 4 hours worth of our day. And I thought, shit, I'm going to get out of class. And I knew my girlfriend at the time was going, and I was like, oh, I'll just go in with her. So that's why I went to go take the dang test. Didn't do that great on the test at the end of the day, but I didn't go in there with the thought of, oh, I'm going to join the military. So fast forward until my senior year, I graduate, football's over, looking at going to the junior college at this rate. Already had talked to the coaches, already had a jersey. I was number 75. I didn't even go get my classes. They had assigned me my classes. They basically gave me my classes. And the classes they gave me were not worth the while. I would have wasted a year of my life just to play football, which, I mean, I don't know if it's a waste of your life. I love playing football. I mean, my body is probably saying it was a waste of time now, but yeah. So anyways, one day I was really, really bored at home. And I had been working a job at a campsite, and it was a lengthy drive to get to the campsite. It was a good 30-minute drive through the mountains. I had to drive up into these mountain area, and it was like a Christian campground where I would clean the cabins and give them new linen, all that stuff. And dude, I'm probably making like $5.75 at the time. Minimum wage was really, really low. And especially where it is today. I thought when I heard other people's minimum wage, but anyhow, I'm really bored at home. And back in the day, we used to have these things called the Yellow Pages, which it was a big old book full of like phone numbers to personal people, businesses, all kinds of stuff. It's how you located people basically within your area. Most of the yellow books, whatever, kind of had like their zip codes on them, which zip codes or area codes they were associated with. And so I just kind of had a hair up my ass, and I already had been approached by the Army recruiter at some point in time, right? And the Army recruiter had bugged the shit out of me. To the point it really turned me off to them. Like, he just kept coming over to my house. He came over to my house to talk to my parents and everything. Tried to take me out to lunch, all kinds of stuff. And I just was like, man, my brain at that point in time, nowhere near going. This was again around my junior year time frame. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably because I took that damn ASVAB, and then I didn't even think about that. But it's probably because I took the ASVAB. That's why that dude was like heavily on my ass. So I don't know. When I was going through the phone book, I just thought in my head, all right, hey, let me call the Navy. Called the Navy. Went in and seen a Navy recruiter, and the Navy recruiter had told me just this. He went out through this questionnaire thing, and I was like, when he went through the questionnaire thing, I was like, I don't know if I'll be qualified for the Navy. just the way he had worded things, it really kind of scared me. Even now that I'm looking back, that stuff kind of really didn't play any effect. It just the way that guy worded it is what deterred me. So wording is everything sometimes when it comes to recruitment, I believe. So I called the Air Force. The Air Force didn't answer that day. Called the Marine Corps. Boom. And it was he at the time, I believe he was a staff sergeant, and his name was Staff Sergeant Burke. I'll never forget his name. And he's like, I think from the East Coast. He's like an East Coast dude. He had motivated me on the phone, right? And he's just like, got me to come down, and he was just like, yeah, man, come on down. I'll tell you everything about it. And all right. So when I went in to go see him, he had, when I say wording's everything, he was, just shooting the shit with me at first. And I think that was his trying to get out my likes and dislikes and things like that, so he can formulate his next way of recruiting me. Because the line that he went with is it's camping, shooting weapons, and he just made everything sound like I love camping. I love shooting weapons. I used to go play with my cousins we live in a desert. We used to go play in the desert for hours on end. We'd be like, we didn't know there was Marines back then. Everything was Army. We just call ourselves little Army men, or we used to play cowboys and Indians. But we just love doing all that kind of stuff out on the field. So I'm just thinking in my eyes, I'm just like, wow, bro, I get to do the real life stuff. And also, I didn't even throw out this little tidbit, but that same cousin that I used to play out in the field with, he's a year younger than me. He had already did like an early enlist, and like you can pre-join when they put you in like devil pups or something like that. But you give yourself you give him a commitment that you're going to join. And I think he was a junior already, and I had known that. So there's no other way too, right? How could I go less than my little cousin, than going, Marine Corps? And it's just odd that me and that cousin and my older cousin, his sister, she ended up joining in the Navy. And all of us would play out in the field like we were all in the military all the time. It's just wild to see us all grow up and kind of end up joining and to have different paths, right? And never see each other while we were in, even though we were in during the same times. So I end up getting super motivated by Staff Sergeant Burke. He got me motivated, and I was just like, yeah, man, what do I got to do? Mind you, up until this point, I was kind of a partier. I had partied a lot in my high school days. That was really, partying and playing football and wrestling. Those were my two things. And I was very much into partying, so I knew I was like, well, I probably should wait a little bit before I go. And so I did. I kind of waited a little bit, like 3 weeks, maybe. From the time I saw him, I was ready to go. But I know I needed to give myself a little bit of some time before I went in to go down. Because what happens is once you decide you want to go enlist, they take you down to a place called MEPS. And mind you, this was in 2000. So I'm talking from a 2000 perspective. Things probably changed. Maybe they haven't. But we would go down to LA MEPS. And from the point that I left to go to LA MEPS, that was it. I left my family. There wasn't like I've heard of some people going to MEPS, going back home, and then going off to boot camp. Probably not a good idea to do that. Because once you get in MEPS, everything you start the whole process, and you less likely to get yourself into any kind of more trouble, because you do not want to get yourself in any trouble with the law or any of that stuff, because it makes joining that much more complicated. So if you're in high school, your kid's in high school, and they think they want to join the military or anything like law enforcement or first responders, tell them to stay the hell away from the law and stay out of trouble. Keep yourself clean. There's ways to get waivers for this, that, and the other, but that's something you don't want to have to mess with. And thank God I had gotten in trouble throughout my teenage life. I think I would call myself a smart partier if there's such a thing. But I did it in a way where obviously I made it through it. Didn't get caught to levels that were like life-changing. And but yeah, so driving down to MEPS, the most wildest thing ever happens. The recruiter takes you. He came to my house. He came to my house, and I was the first person he picked up. So it was just me and him when he picked me up. I had no clue that he had others to pick up or anything to that effect. So he had 2 other people to go pick up. We go pick up one other individual. His name was Ellis, I remember, because these guys end up being in my platoon. And then after that, he doesn't tell me, the staff sergeant doesn't owe me shit from Shinoli of where we're going. So he ain't telling me nothing. I'm just looking around, and the path that he starts going was a path that I used to drive all the time to work. That exact same campground that I had talked about, we drive up to that exact same campground I'm working at. I'm like, whoa. And I'm thinking, what are we doing here, man? I'm thinking, is they're going to ask questions about me or something? This is weird. And he's like, I'm here to pick up this guy, Warble. And I've never heard of his last name. I knew Isaac but I never knew him as Warble. And that's in the Marine Corps. We kind of talked about people by their last name. So here comes walking this dude. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this guy. And he's like, I'm here to pick him up. I'm like, oh no shit. I was like, dude, I worked with him. So we end up going in together. I knew this guy. Didn't know him from, like I said, did not know he was going in at all either. Had no clue. So it was wild. It was absolutely wild. And we didn't go into no buddy program, thank God. But it's kind of like going in a buddy program without actually having that official document that links you to somebody. Because once they find out you are in the buddy program or something and you have a buddy with you, have fun. Both you and your buddy have fun. And, when one gets in trouble, likely the other one's in trouble. And the other one could be way the hell over there. Marine Corps has a funny way of doing things. That's for damn sure. But so I thought that was such a wild beginning. And getting to MEPS was, for my first time, I'm kind of having to go I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm going to live on my own, basically. And the amount of tests that you have to go through MEPS is wild. They make you do the duck walk. They check your, body from head to toe, every orifice of your body, your blood pressure, all that stuff. And and any of that stuff fails or whatever, then you're out, you're gone. And after that long excursion of a day, they put us all up on the bus, and boom, we're off to go. And something that I never forget, my family had to hear this every time we drove down to San Diego, is there's a place that you stop on your way down to MCRD. So after MEPS, they bus everybody up and they ship you off to San Diego MCRD. On your way down, they stopped by a Denny's and they gave us a steak and lobster dinner. And it's like your last meal, so to speak, before you go in. And I remember that was it's funny now that when I reflect back on it, and I really take the time to think about it. And I've had an opportunity to tell my story so much now that and it's wild how much I'm starting to kind of really remember. And that's why I think it's important for all of us to tell our stories, right? Is because there's just so much out there that you may have forgot, or things that you kind of just put back there. And when you come out and tell your stories like this, it just gives you that opportunity to reflect. Um, but that last meal, and then boom, after that, we're off to boot camp, and it's just chaos from there on. And I myself had always played sports pretty much from the time I was 6, 7. Oh, I did not mean to say that, but it just came out when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Um, I've always been playing sports, so I've always kind of had the ability, like, to run, do all those things on your body that are pretty demanding, but their level of demanding on your body is next level, because you are going nonstop from the time you wake up to the time you hit the rack. And sometimes during that night, you might get called for, you got fire watch. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck you. That's the worst thing. Man, for you that remember those fire watch days, tell me that's not one of the worst things that you're like, fuck, man. But boot camp, really, at the end of the day, you start to learn so much about yourself as a person and what you can and cannot do. We always think that I think you always kind of reach a level, like when you're running or you're doing something very, very heavy on your body. You feel like, oh gosh, I can't do it. But I'll be damned if you have a little bit more past that, I can't do it. Because I don't know how many times in my head I felt like, oh shit, I'm about to fall out. There ain't no way, I cannot do this. And sure as shit, I made it. I did it. And it's just one of those things. You got to start conditioning your body, right? And tell yourself not to quit. A lot of us, that's what we do. Oh, it hurts a little bit. I'm stopping. I'm done. And sometimes rightfully so. Rightfully so. You got an injury. I'm not telling you to go blow past your injuries and chesty puller it and attack the heel type shit. But there is levels where your body's feeling maybe like fatigued. You're like, I can't. I don't got. You do. You just got to reach deep. You got to reach deep. Why do you think that some of these people become extreme badasses and make it into the special forces? They got another level that those fools can turn on that most humans can't, right? And a lot of Marines, we have a level that a lot of humans can't get to, but even us, there's some levels that we can't even attain, that there's just people out there that got that shit in them. And I do think that you're kind of either born with it or you're not. And then throughout the way, you learn to hone in on your skill, because you're either that person that learns to kind of run towards the problem, or you kind of run away from it on the, and I'm talking about in a battlefield way. Like if you hear shots fired, there's people that pause. There's people that'll hit the deck. There's people that run towards it. There's people that flee. You start to learn a lot about yourself and where you fall in that line when it comes to survival. Because when you join any military branch, when I joined, particularly is year 2000, there wasn't any wars going on at the time. But the whole time I had been training, right? Learning how to set up rear area support, how to defend myself, how to, react if we take fire. There's all these things that I've been learning and practicing. And when it, after a while, when it becomes drills, you get to feel a little bit of sense of complacency, because you know that it's it's not real, right? At the end of when you're done training, you're all shooting the shit, and you don't know whose head got fucking blown off or who got shot or any of that kind of stuff through those exercises, unless they're using something else, right, to kind of make that happen. And and I know I'm only talking. I'm a PO guy. I'm a supply guy, and but we still all get trained and learn a lot. And I went through many classes of how to set up rear area support, amphibious landings from ships onto the, to the land. Manly, you know what I'm talking about, Jay? Colonel Blitz. But yeah, so in the Marines, you never know when you join or any military branch that there could be a conflict, and then you might end up getting deployed, and all the training that you have used up to this point, it starts to really like, holy shit, no shit, why we did this, why we do that, why there's this. Things start to make so much more sense, and there's so much more like, realization when it becomes real. And because for me, I joined in the year 2000. When I got into the fleet, it was roughly August timeframe, because they had messed up my orders and they had sent me to the 29 stumps. Luckily, the warrant officer said they messed up my orders and I had the ability to leave, and I could go to Camp Pendleton, where my original orders were from. And I was like, yes, sir. So that's how I end up there. When I get there to Camp Pendleton, it's like I'm by the beach, overcast, nice kind of, it's not. I just came from 29 stumps, and that was hot as shit because it's August time frame. So it's definitely a difference in temperature and feeling while I'm there. So when I get to my unit, I check into 22 area. All right. It's 1st FSSG Supply Battalion. And we worked, it was called storage. And the section I worked in was bins, which we dealt with small components and stuff like that for tanks, the armory, all that kind of stuff, little types of things. If they needed it, we would get these packing slips. We'd have to go pull the parts, pack it, send it off to receiving, and then it get to its units. So when I get there, that's kind of what I'm learning, right? Is how to be a warehouseman. And I remember one of the first encounters I had with a female corporal. She kind of pulled me to the side and she's just like, hey, Devil Dog, welcome, to Ben. She's like, did they mess up on your orders? Are you supposed to be in this unit? And I said, yeah. She's like, wow. She's like, it just doesn't seem like you belong here, like you're too squared away. And I was just like, oh, I had no clue what the hell she's talking about. But man, that unit was rough. They called it the fucking plantation, and it was wild. We picked up so much trash, weeds. The field days were a nightmare. And there was a lot of fuck stuff when I got there because there was no wars popping off or nothing like that. Then they sought me out for the football team. And I was like, what? I was like, there's a football team? I was like, hell yeah. I get to play football while I'm in the Marine Corps. So the coach actually happened to be a guy that worked in the storage area. And so he recruited me basically and told me, hey man, yeah, instead of PT with them going running and stuff, you come out and you do practice with us in the mornings. And we had practice in the evenings. But I'm like, shit, no low left, right, or left. Running, information. And I tell you what, a lot of people hated on this. A lot of people hated that we had practice. But I assure you, if you were on the football team, the practices that we had were pretty fucking rough. So we're not just running, we're running in full pads, helmet, shoulder pads, leg pads, all that, full pads, full on laps, wind sprints, just their practice was woo. I'm used to like high school football practice. Marine Corps football practice was like next level. And I'm out here while I like crazy country dudes. I'll never forget this one dude. He fucking hit people so hard. And like he had no care for his body. And he just would run at people like full speed and just like unload on them. Like he just left his body like kind of limp, like he was like almost like I can't even explain it. Like he became like a torpedo. And I'll never forget the practice where it was a done son for him. It was done. Like, this was his last time ever. He had already been getting kind of hurt from doing this before. He's just a crazy country white dude. And dude, at practice, why he does this, he literally just seeks out this one kid who's not really paying attention. It's on a kickoff, and the dude's on a kickoff return. He's kind of running backwards, the guy on kickoff return. As he's turning around to like get ready to form a wall to block, boom, here comes fucking this dude. Just, I'm talking like makes both dudes' helmets explode. Like I've never watched face mask like detach like the plastics on these things on both dudes' helmets broke, and dudes were laid out. And one dude had the I can't remember his last name, but the dude that hit the guy, his face was cut bad, dude, and he was kind of more or less rolling around. The dude he hit was out, son, out. Like we had to call practice early that day due to that whole thing. I mean, it was bad. And both dudes, I'm pretty sure, didn't play ever again because they were pretty damn injured. Now, football kind of came to a abrupt end, and that was because 9/11 happened. It came to an abrupt pause. Let's say abrupt pause this time, right? So 2001, the trade centers happened. I think I talked about this in episodes before, my experience of what happened to me on 9/11. And I was at an eye exam, saw the World Trade Centers get hit there. Didn't think much of it, went through my eye exams. They sent me back to my unit, and everybody was gone. And at that rate in time, they're making it seem like we need to go pack up our shit. We're getting ready to leave. So I'm like, what? I mean, I went from a normal day, going to my appointment, going through my appointment, and everybody going through the appointment, like the doctors, everybody working. No one's tripping. No one's like saying that, that the World Trade Centers were attacked by terrorists and all this. I mean, no one was really saying that. So when I go back, it is like, what the fuck? And then I'm thinking, no way, this has got to be a joke, man. And Staff Sergeant Starkey, I think his name was, he sent us all back. And I'm just like, dude, I go to the room and we have to like get our stuff ready for it's called a junk on a bunk. And that is like an inspection of all your gear on your bed. And there's a whole fucking way of laying this out. I don't think we did any junk on the bunks since probably boot camp at this point in time. So no one's knowing what the hell. We're having to like go back and try to find our green monsters and look at how do you set up a junk on the bunk. And so that day right there, finding everything out for us changed the dynamics on the base completely at that point in time. You know, um, they just the way you even came on base, there was pretty much it started being like 100% inspections, and before that, it was if you had a sticker, there's enlisted or officer stickers. If you were an officer, they got saluted. If there's enlisted, they just kind of would wave you through. But after that, after the World Trade Centers, man, they were looking underneath every car, doing the trunk open, the hood of all the cars, all the doors open. I mean, they were doing thorough checks, and rightfully so, because the threat level was at its highest level ever. Well, at least in my time. I mean, and I'm sure I don't know when the last time they had been in this kind of a threat level. There's different threat levels. There's like a Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and a Delta. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure those are the different levels. And when you're going through, they usually have it posted on what threat level they are. So each threat level has its own criteria in terms of how do you get on base. So things had changed so much for us during our time, and we really thought at that point in time, oh shit, we're deploying, dude, but we didn't. And I would end up going into a different unit about 2 years into it. So around 2002 time frame, still no deployment, still with 1st FSSG Supply Battalion. This gunny, he's a gunny, comes over, and he's needing 2 Marines. So the staff sergeant we had been working for really liked me and my buddy Ojeda. So he's like, I got 2 Marines for you. Me and Ojeda, we really grew to love each other and be buds. You know, like he came in about 6 months after me. And while he came, I was on Colonel Blitz, which I talked about a little bit earlier. And so when I came back, he was a boot to me. And but I really took a liking to him, and we still to this day are best buds. Like we're brothers, you know, and we'll always be brothers, and we've went through a lot with each other. So him and I end up getting transferred over to 1st Meth Headquarters Group. And this was the 24 area, which is when you're coming onto base. If you look off to the left side, there is kind of like the beach area. There's barracks, there's red roof buildings that are warehouses and things like that. I got stationed over there, and I worked in those red roof warehouses that you can kind of see right off the freeway. So now I'm like by the beach, and I'm like, wow. And now I'm in a different unit. This unit is now we support Grunt Unit, which is the 1st Marines. And I had no clue that there was different levels of like kind of supply. Like you could kind of be, and mind you, once again, this was in the 2000s. But you could be a Marine that supports the stateside kind of, and you're more of like just the support there, or you could be attached to a grunt unit, and then you're more of a frontline support Marine. So I didn't know that there was a difference until I got switched over, and I found out, oh shit, we're attached to grunts. I was like, well, what the fuck does this mean? And I'll tell you, like right off rip, these dudes like to go on humps like no other. And I'm talking, when I say humps, we're talking hikes to someone that might not know what a hump is. And they would go on, like, I'm talking extensive, long hikes. Ones even where we had to get on a helicopter and get dropped off. And I even fucking fell out of the helicopter coming out. One of the last dudes in front of the whole battalion slip out, like, with my pack on and everything. And when we do these humps, they make us be full of gear. They make sure that it's packed up. Flak jackets, Kevlars. Back then it was the M16A2 service rifle. Canteens, your your war belt with all the stuff on the war belt, your med kit, all that stuff. Yeah, we did that all like it was like every third Friday of the month or something to that effect. We had a real long one. And you would think kind of, oh yeah, being stationed by the beach is cool. No, it's doing runs in the beach is not that fun when you are in boots and utes, right? When I say boots and utes, that was when you were in your like combat boots, your cami bottoms, green skivvy shirt, maybe even your sweat, your hoodie, your whatever. Um, but damn, running in that shit, and then sometimes these dudes or dudettes would run us through water. Yeah. And then we're wet. Oh, yeah, this is motivating. Motivating. And I mean, even sometimes when we do it in our PT gear, we'd be running along the beach. And of course, they're getting motivated. We're like we're not even halfway through the run. It's a good idea to run through the freaking water, salt water that's great, got dirt and all that stuff. And then we're through mud. I mean, the Marine Corps just has a way of doing things and testing your shit, right? So, yeah, we would be sitting there running through those mud. You think being by the beach is cool, and it is kind of cool until you got to go do those kind of weird, stupid PT times. But so while I am with First Med Headquarters Group, I think they knew at some point in time that we were getting ready to deploy. And I'm only saying that now that I look back and I reflect on that. I had no clue that we were going to possibly be deploying while I was doing all this, but we were like painting all these. So like when I moved over to the Meth Headquarters Group, I went from doing like little small like parts to huge things, like all their like tents, desert wear, boots, cami netting, any kind of type of thing that supports that frontline Marine while they're doing their job. That's the kind of stuff that we had. So we started bringing out we had all of our gear was put in these big old crates, like wooden crates. And at the time they were just all like regular white. They weren't painted or nothing. So we had to go through, we started painting them all. And then we had to, we were painting them green, and we had to do certain numbering on it, right? There was all these little numberings and stuff like that because, we're prepping them to go on a ship. Ding. Once again, when you're in the Marine Corps, you just get kind of pointed in a direction, told to go do some shit. You go do it. I had no clue. Oh shit, we're prepping for deployment. So come 2002, around the holiday time frame, let's say October. It was Halloween, right before Thanksgiving. Word down the street is we're deploying. We're going to be deploying. What? Holy shit. No shit. So now it is realization that the deployment is coming, but we have no idea. There's no date and time. It's now we're getting ready to go do this. And it's like, oh my gosh, no shit. So I say within, I don't remember what the time frame was, but it was still 2002 when I think it was two of our guys or one of them got selected to be an early party to go to what we now know as Camp Commando Kuwait, to go be the first people there, boots on the ground, so to speak, as the rear area support group to get things set up for the units. So boom, my buddy gets his orders and he's off 2002, prior to the holidays. Sometime in December, I get my orders all of a sudden, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I'm the only one at this point in time in our group who's getting these orders. I'm the next Marine that their supply guy that they're choosing to send as an early party. I was like, "Oh shit!" So my date was for January 15th, 2003. So wow, I'm blown away now. I actually have something telling me physically in my hand that I will be deploying. Let me tell you what that does. I was about 2003 time frame. I'm about 21, gonna turn 22. I turned 22 while I was out there, I believe. Yeah. And so um a 21-year-old at that point in time getting orders to deploy into a war, there's just so many things that run through your mind. And I guess I thought it would be smart as hell to go get myself a tattoo the same night that I was going to fly out. That was not a good idea. You don't, if you're going to deploy, don't go fucking get a tattoo and deal with it while you're on deployment. Not wise at all. But 21-year-old me thought, oh, well, what if I don't make it back? So, I mean, there's a lot that goes through your head. So you know what? YOLO. Yeah, YOLO. But it's just not fun to deal with. I'll say that. It is not fun to deal with. So we're getting ready to deploy, and I remember that night when I basically kind of was saying goodbye to my family and stuff on the phone. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I was scared. I definitely was scared at 21 years old, not knowing what I'm going to be getting myself into. So on this stint, there's a good probably 300 Marines for this next wave, getting ready to go to Camp Commando, meeting up with other units as well that are already there. Wild times getting there. Wild times. I would say go back and listen to some of these old stories that I told. I don't know if I've told the stories of when I went over there and got stuck in Frankfurt, Germany. If not, and you're hearing it and you do want to hear it, let me know. Let me know. Shoot me an email and let me know that you want to hear the extent of what happened while we were in Frankfurt, Germany. It was pretty explicit. That one I might have to do like on a private or something because I could get canceled really well after that. And I'm trying to be transparent with my stories out there, but some of these stories, woo, I don't know if some of them might just be better left unsaid. You guys know what the hell I'm talking about. But reflecting back to a lot of my time while I served in deployment and the things that we experienced while we were on deployment, it's wild. Like, it's crazy. I'll tell you, if you deployed or didn't deploy even, do this. I did this and I thought it was pretty cool. And I know some of us probably don't like AI. I get it. But I use AI for different things, right? One thing I like to do is kind of talk about it, about history and things like that. I never got a chance to decompress and talk about my experience with my buddies who I deployed with. We never really had a lot of opportunities until many years later to kind of have that reflection time and decompression time. And I think that part might be something that we're missing, right? A lot of us, like when I got out in 2004, there was a war going on. They had no time to talk to me about anything. I didn't even know I didn't even know what medals, awards, anything I got. Never checked into it because I really wasn't kind of into it. I was more or less trying to get out and go be a civilian as fast as I could. But something I did is I went into AI and I asked AI about my time while I was over there and deployed at Camp Commando 2003 and with 1st Meth Headquarters Group Supply. I wanted to know kind of where we are held like in the world of history goes. And my gosh, it was really cool to see that because I will give my brothers and sisters that we were with Motor T, combat engineers, the NBC guys, uh forgot who else was with us, but we were a little core support group and we had to do convoys and stuff like that. And we came so close and we went through a lot of shit, kind of feeling like sitting ducks at Camp Commando, just running from all the damn missiles and stuff. But we were really small supply group supporting a lot of Marines. And I don't think that a lot of you that I served with realize how instrumental we were in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And the amount of ground that was covered and the amount of supply that had to keep up with the pace that they were moving, right? We had to keep up with those frontline Marines. We couldn't allow that line to be too far or to break. We had to keep them all supplied. And the stuff that it said, it will really bring a smile to your face. So don't be, hey, don't be afraid to go look up and see the things that you did while you served, your unit did. Go check it out. Maybe you never took the time to go look. It took me 40 something years to go look at that. Not 40 something years, 30. But nevertheless, it was kind of cool to see something like that, right? Because you don't get a lot of opportunities to talk with people about what you did or why you did it. So that being said, I would love to have anybody that's willing to come on and talk about your stories, why you love being in the military, why you hated it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's what every Days of Saturday is all about. Is we're here to share what the good, the bad, and the ugly is and why we served. And you didn't have to be some war hero. You could have been a PFC or a private that just kept getting busted down. All your stories matter. Even you shitbirds. Come tell your stories. You never know what we could all learn from each other. And I will say, I hold being a Marine very dear to my heart. A lot of people, should it be your identity? It's not my identity, but it is who I am. It is a part of who I am. I will always be a Marine. And I was trained to be a Marine. They don't untrain you. They don't untrain you how not to be a Marine. You kind of start to learn along the ways what's good, what's bad, and stuff like that. The good things that you should do as a Marine and the bad things you shouldn't. I still don't know how to be politically correct always. I get canceled a lot. But I will always hold that part near and dear to my heart. Becoming a Marine was something that I did on my own. I climbed that fucking Mount motherfucker Crucible Hill and got my EGA on the top of it. That was me. And I endured the 12 weeks of boot camp. I went in there as what they would call a fat body, made me a diet recruit. I had to go and learn how to eat half of everything I was able to eat. And there's just so many things that I had endured during those 12 weeks that I had a newfound respect for myself as a person and what I can do as a human, the abilities that we have. That's why I think some of you think that Marines come off very arrogant or something to that effect, cocky. I don't know if it's that or if it's just we kind of know what we can do. And I'm not trying to say that as a flex. We've been tested. We've been tested like no other. And that's not just Marine Corps. It's all branches. I just talk from a Marine's point of view because we're the best. It's all fun and love. But anyhow, let's get ready for September 2nd. And every Wednesday, we're going to drop new interviews. We're going to be the first two right off rip, like I said, are going to be some Navy guys. And we'll let them tell their stories and see why they decided to be squids. And then, we'll see who else wants to be a part of the show. I do have a Calendly now, so that if you want to be on it, just go into Google at some point in time, search Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran. And I'm sure if you put Calendly in there, you would be able to kind of get to it that way. But there's also other ways that I'll make sure that it's on there that you can get into it by if you're part of any of my social medias, like if you want to go join the Facebook community over on Facebook, go join the Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran community. Do a lot of stuff over there. It's I'll put it right here. Every Day's a Saturday USMC. It was USMC Veteran. I switched it to Every Day's a Saturday community group because I want that group basically to be for everybody. If you have a podcast, I want you to share your podcast out there. If there's stories or nonprofits out there that have helped you, love it for you to share it there. It's a place for everybody to kind of do some networking. I do like to kind of stay away from the politics, religion, things like that kind of create division. I'm not looking for those kind of posts at all. Definitely different communities for that kind of stuff. But you can also listen to this show on basically every single audio platform out there. And if you're not hearing me on a platform that you want to hear me on, let me know. Shoot me that email. I'm going to put my email up here one more time. Every day is a Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com. Send me an email and say, hey, I would love to hear you over on here. And I'll look and see if there's a way that I can get it added. No guarantees that I could get added to it, but I will do my due diligence to get on it. Also, if maybe you don't want to come on the show and you do have a story, funny story out there that you want to share with us, or maybe an experience you want to share with us, once again, email me Every Day is Saturday, 365 at yahoo.com, and send it in, and I will read it right here. If you want it to be your name to be read, I will. If you want it to be anonymous, I'll do that as well. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and get the hell out of here. I didn't even think I'd be here this long, and I did run my mouth, and I don't even know if I got through everything I was going to do, but that's how we do. But welcome back, guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and once again, be ready for September 2nd, 2026, and every Wednesday after, be ready for those new interviews. We'll see y'all.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.